These flattened grasses indicate the passage of a large animal. The animal that I'm following here is actually a black bear, and he's got quite a few tracks out here in the mud that I'll go back to in a minute, but I wanted to show these grass tracks. Let me refocus. Okay, now we're focused a little bit better on these tracks here. Notice how the grass has been laid down in the direction of travel, which was that direction, heading to the left. Notice these plants here have been flattened down, squashed down by the weight of the foot. And on top of the plants, you see some dirt transferred on the bear's foot. Dirt here, there's dirt on this one. All that material was transferred on its foot when it made this step. This plant has been broken off at the base and squashed flat. Normally it should be sitting upright, and those leaves would be facing the sun. Another step right here. Here's another very clear step. Now in this one you can see a lot of flattening of all the grasses. You can see some bent blades of grass. Some bruising in some of these plants. And a lot of damage that was done by the bear's foot. This next track shows what we call flagging, which is these grasses laid down in the direction of travel, and then flattening down here where they've been stepped on. Really close here, you can see this plant. I think this is some type of a chickweed. Has been flattened to the ground. Normally it should be standing up like these are. There's bruising of some of its leaves. See how brown and bruised that leaf is? When leaves are stepped on, first they turn brown or darker color because they've been stepped on. And as this sign ages, it will get lighter. This leaf, of course, has been detached from the plant and won't heal, but the leaves that are still attached to the plant that still have the ability to heal, eventually the creases and bruises will turn a lighter color. Then the bear stepped over here and over here. And back into some more chickweed here. This one I can pull the grasses and things away and show you the flattening way down in the base of the track there that was hidden. And then stepped in some beautiful soil here, flattening some grasses in the process. Now you can see the entire imprint of the heel and the 5 toes. Right hind foot, left hind foot. On the left hind foot here you can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 toes and the large heel pad. And even a claw mark right there. Here's a front foot, left front foot. You can see this half moon shape, or I like to call it a kidney bean shape because it resembles the shape of a kidney bean. And the 5 toes. And there's the right front foot, right next to a small bobcat track. Pretty cool, huh? So this bear went on to walk through the mud and leave us some nice flattened sign as well as some compressed grasses. So the past 2 tracks were actually 2 tracks, one on top of the other. And here's one where you can see the front track and the hind track overstepped the front track, called an overstep walk. This is the right front and the right hind track. Direction of travel is to the left. Here's another one where you can again see some compressed grasses and mud has been flattened on top of them. Another step. And another one. That's actually 2 tracks, one on top of the other. It's not one big track. It can look like one big track, like this. It almost looks like that's one big huge Bigfoot track, right? But it's not. It's a bear track. Here's the size. This is 6-inch ruler. So what happened here is you have the hind track and the front track. Here's the heel of the front track, or the carpal pad. This track stepped on top of that track and left barely any imprints from these toes. And what happened was the overlap makes it look like one huge track. But it's not. It's 2 tracks superimposed on each other. And it is a black bear. So this bear walked along the edge of this dirt berm here. Looks like some deer have been in here also. Now when the bear got up to here, it went off into the grass, as you can tell by the sign that you can see even from a distance, the flagging of the grasses, laid down in the direction the bear was traveling, which is from the bottom to the top of the picture. Let's look closer at some of this sign so you can see why this stands out so well against the rest of the grass. Okay, up a little bit closer here, you can see that there is mud on top of the grass and this plant here, full of mud. Now, the rest of the grasses around it are clean. There's no mud on top of them. Trackers call this transfer. It's the transfer of one material, the mud the bear had been walking through, onto the top of another material, the grass. So dirt transfer indicates the track is here. The flagging of the grasses laid down in the direction of travel indicate that the step was made in that direction. That's the way the bear was traveling. Same here, very clearly you can see the flagging of that grass. And if you look really closely, look at the mud. Let's go a little closer. Okay, now we're right up on top of the grasses and you can see all the mud that has been transferred onto the top of these leaves of grass. Everything else around it is clean, no mud. That's how you can tell the footstep is here. The bear's foot dragged all this mud with it, deposited on top of these grasses. This is called dirt transfer. So because that dirt transfer makes these tracks stand out from the surrounding grass, it makes it a lot easier to track the bear through this area. So you can see a track down here, one here. You notice the dirt on top of the grasses, not as clean as the grass around it. And then down here, this is a beautiful track because you actually hit some mud and left a nice impression, as well as the dirt transfer and the knocked over grasses, as well as bruised vegetation. Let's look closely at this track. Alright, this is a beautiful track in here. What have we got here? We've got some broken vegetation, broken grasses. Notice how they're folded over here. They shouldn't be. They should be standing up nice and tall like these grasses over here. You've got some grasses embedded into the soil and other plants. Little chickweeds down there. You've got dirt transfer on top of the leaves of this plant. On top of that, look at this broken off blade of grass. Big bruise marks on it. If this blade of grass lives, those bruise marks will turn from dark. They will go to light as they heal. Lots of dirt transfer here. You can see that this was on the ground, and all that mud was transferred off the bear's foot onto the grasses and other plants here in this footstep. We got some embedded leaves here, embedded right into the soil by the weight of the animal. So this is a beautiful track full of sign. All this indicates passage of a black bear. Now this is in contrast to the track that we were just looking at in the grass that was composed mostly of sign. It wasn't really a complete track. There were no toes to look at, no heel pads, no impressions of the fur. So this track is a beauty. This is the kind of thing that we always wish to find, but we don't find. This is the left front foot of a black bear, and there was a dirt berm here. It stepped into it and just squished down into the soft mud and left a wonderful print. Look at this. This is beautiful. There's the heel pad, also called the metacarpal pad, named after the metacarpal bones in the foot, front foot. There's toe number 1, 2, toe number 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Toes are numbered beginning with the inside toe towards the outside. On a bear, the inside toe is the small one, not the big one, like you would think, because our big toe is our inner toe. The bear is opposite. The big toe is the outside of the body. So this is the kind of track that trackers dream about finding. This is something you can make a casting of. It's so beautiful. And there's even marks here from the fur. Let's get close. Look at that. It's sunk so deeply into the mud that there are fur marks from the edge of the bear's foot. This is a beautifully detailed track. And I'm focusing on this one so closely because you rarely find tracks this beautiful. The details, all the details of the outline of that pad, metacarpal pad, are very detailed here. Look at that. You can see the little bumps that correspond to each toe. The bumps and the beautiful kidney bean or crescent or half moon shape of that pad. Okay, that is the left front foot. Inner side is the smallest inner toe there. Left front foot. Look over here. Here's a hind foot. This appears to be the right hind because I can see the edges of the heel pad here, also called the metatarsal pad because it's on the foot. Tarsals are on the foot. That's the bones of your feet. There is the outer toe. You can only see 4 toes. Toe number 1 here didn't really show up. Toe number 1 is very small, and it's the inner toe. Sometimes you don't see it. You'll only see 4 toes, but this is the hind track. Longer pad, almost appears to be a double pad. So, front foot and hind foot, that's actually the right hind. And the left front of a black bear. I should show the size of this. That's a 6-inch ruler. Now the track is not measured from the widest point here to here. The track is measured down here. This is where the foot is. I wouldn't measure from up here. That would add a good 2 inches to the width of this track. I would measure the width of that pad down here where it actually is. That's where the actual track is, not this distortion caused by the deep soil. Just a note on measuring tracks. So that's a little bit about tracking, whether you're following tracks like this that are just flattenings of the grass and dirt transfer deposits, flagging of the grass. Well, those are bear tracks. Tracks don't always look like this. We wish they did, but they don't. And that's the fun of tracking. The fun of tracking is that, you know, tracks don't always come out perfect. And sometimes you have to search for them. And that's what makes it so enjoyable. See you on the trail.